Today, we're continuing our Halloween theme. So, on Brief Brain Facts, we're discussing the neurobiology of fear and maladaptive fear. Fear is a disturbing emotion caused by the real or imagined threat of danger. The fear response may be natural or conditioned, that is, brought about through learning. When the brain believes it's been threatened, places like the orbital cortex associated with making judgments get overrun by the more impulsive and emotional limbic system, particularly the amygdala, but for good reason. It's a survival instinct that tells us we need to produce a behavior that will hopefully ensure our survival. But whatever behavior that comes about due to fear, it isn't always the most logical or rational response. It's usually just the most immediate. In this case, unconditioned fear does not require learning and memory mechanisms. A good example of an unconditioned fear is when rats, who have never even seen a cat, get a whiff of cat. They show a fear-like response of avoidance behaviors and even hiding. Importantly, people act differently when it comes to fear. So, when a certain thing or situation results in fear, the way in which I respond may differ from the way in which you may respond. This becomes particularly apparent regarding conditioned fear. Researchers believe that conditioned fear is how pathologic anxiety and phobias develop. Classical conditioning is a process by which an object, place, event, etc. that would not have produced a response is paired with something that does produce a response. For instance, a baby was presented with a cute bunny rabbit, but every time the rabbit appeared, it was paired with a loud sound that would frighten the baby. Over time, the baby became afraid of the rabbit and didn't need the sound to produce the initial fear. This actually happened, and it's super unethical. The conditioned fear response is one of the ways humans develop intense fear of often mundane things like numbers, arithmophobia, and the fear of writing in public, scriptophobia. Regarding the brain, the amygdala may be responsible for both fear processing and responding to fear. However, several anatomically and functionally distinct nuclei comprise the amygdala, two of which have different roles to play regarding fear. Sensory information encoding something produced a natural fear response, like an electric shock, and the initial harmless thing, like a tone, goes to the thalamus, which acts as a relay station, and sends information to both the cortex and the amygdala. The amygdala must be intact for fear conditioning to occur, as damage to certain areas of the amygdala has resulted in the inability to acquire conditional fear, while unconditional fear, like our example of rats afraid of cats, remains intact. Damage to the basolateral complex of the amygdala consistently block conditioned fear. In other words, damage in some areas of the brain cause conditioned fear to not happen. Findings like these are what led researchers to believe that the lateral nucleus of the amygdala is responsible for the long-term memory of fear. Importantly, lesions to this area does not seem to affect unconditioned fear or innate fear. But the exact area of the amygdala responsible for innate fear remains unknown. In addition to the thalamus and the amygdala, conditioned fear that may lead to anxiety disorders appear to involve the prefrontal cortex, or PFC, and the hippocampus. All of these brain areas are vital to the emotional processing and pathological fear responses. According to researchers, the PFC and the amygdala are the primary areas responsible for maladaptive fear. Interestingly, unlike anxiety disorders like PTSD, phobias may not involve the amygdala. The PFC and hippocampus, the areas responsible for emotional processing and learning, may be the areas involved in the creation of phobias, fears like walking up the stairs and being afraid of water. So the next time you're confronted by a chicken and begin to feel panic, electrophobia, you can blame the normally rational prefrontal cortex for just having a bad time. What is an obscure phobia you're aware of? Comment below. If you liked what you saw, please consider becoming a Patreon at our Patreon page linked below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and, of course, hit that like button. As always, thank you for watching.